Before you work on your refrigerator, you can unplug it. You can also hold the power button down until you see it read off in both of those little windows. That turns the refrigerator off. It's best to unplug it if you're going to be working on anything electrical, but you can also turn it off to keep it from trying to run when you're making adjustments and so on. If your refrigerator is acting up, it's probably because it iced up. I'm going to show you, I've taken our refrigerator apart. This refrigerator is a Sears, but it's really made by Frigidaire, and most of them are. There's like 3 or 4 brands that are all made by Frigidaire, so they're all pretty similar. Ours has an ice maker. I've completely disassembled it, and believe it or not, it's not that hard to do. There's a few screws and a few clips that comes out of there. What happens is, last time ours froze up, it's because there's a little heater coil. You can see it in here. There's the freezer coil, and then there's a heater coil that runs through here. You can see there's a little sensor on here. And so what happens is, every so many hours of compressor operation, it will run the defrost cycle, and this heater comes on and it melts the ice that gets in here, and it runs down this little drain. The same thing happens here in the bottom. You see that coil, and it has a heating element with a little sensor on it too. And what happens is, if those heaters stop working, which ours have done, those coils freeze up and your refrigerator stops working. In this case, you can see the ice in that corner. I'm defrosting it now with this heater to get that ice out of there. This time, our problem was not the coils. Actually, the last 2 times, it hasn't been the coils. It's been the seals on these doors. I had a problem. If there's an adjustment on the door, you can take off this plastic, and if you look down here at the bottom of the door, there's an adjustment. It adjusts the door height. What happened to ours the last time was, you see this little flap that closes? Our door dropped down low enough that this little pin did not engage there, and that flap didn't close. So we had a gap between the 2 doors, and it allowed the unit to freeze up. This time what happened is, it froze up, and it turned out it was this door. This is the door that goes to the front of the freezer, was not sealing properly around here. And it's because we had put, see these little trays right here? These trays go into this frame, and if you look, there's little clips right here. We had put it in there, and we left it sticking out a little bit. So when this closed, it hit the back, and it didn't allow the door to close. And I mean, it only left a little gap, maybe an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch around this frame right here. And if it doesn't seal perfectly well, it's gonna ice up on you. It iced up on us, and what happened is, this was completely full of ice, completely blocked off with ice. That you can see down here, we're getting some of the ice out of there, but that was completely iced over. And back in here was all iced up, and the refrigerator was making this strange, like, click, 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 but it was loud enough to drive you crazy, and it was every 5 or 10 seconds you'd hear this. It was a click, but kind of a thump, and it's because this ice maker iced up and started to malfunction. So now we're going to get all the ice cleared out of here, and once that's clear, you're going to see, I'm going to show you how to reassemble, how everything goes back together. But I want to say, if it's those heater elements, when I pulled this back off the time it was the heater element, that entire coil was packed with ice. I've had the same thing here. When I pulled this off and that heater element wasn't working, you looked in here, it was completely clogged with ice, and it means that heater isn't melting it away. So The next part of the video, I'm going to show you how to reassemble the refrigerator. As you can see, these are the baskets that go in there. I've got the door off. These are the baskets that go around. I'll show you how all these parts go back together. But this is the ice maker housing. There's just a lot of parts to this thing. I mean, there's kind of a bunch to do. These are the other parts I'm going to show you how to reassemble. There's quite a bit to do, but there's only a couple of screws on each one and it goes pretty quick. It's something, once you've seen this video, I think you'll be able to do successfully. The first step in reassembly is to put this large sheet metal backing plate over these coils down in the freezer at the bottom part of the refrigerator. What you're going to see is there's a grounding wire here, and it's going to connect onto this drain pan. There's another grounding wire here. That's going to clip onto this. You can see it. There's a little clip right here that grounds this sheet metal. And then you see this connector. It's going to push through this hole right here. And then there's going to be two screws, one there, one here, that hold it on. Okay, the back panel is on. What you're going to notice is it fits inside this lip along the bottom. Those are the two screws that I was talking about. And it has to fit behind this little rubber drain plug right here. And then the next piece to go on is the plastic piece that goes around the fan. You can see there's 3 screw places for that. Okay, that piece is in place. You can see the 3 screws that hold it in there are in place. So now we're ready to put these trays back in and put the door on it. To put the door on, you're going to notice there's a little lug right here. That is going to fit right onto here, and that will hold the door in place on each side. And then you're going to put screws in here and here on each side to hold it in. Okay, you can see the lug is holding it up now, and all I have to do is tip the door forward until these screw holes line up, and then insert the screws. Okay, now the screws are on both sides. What I'm going to do is close the door, and I'm going to check to be sure that it seals properly all the way around, because that is the primary cause of icing up of the refrigerator. And then I'll get this one, same thing, making sure it looks like it's got a tight seal all the way around. When this tray is put in properly, this is what you're going to see. It's pushed all the way up against the front right here, and you'll notice this keeps it captive and holds it up against the front so that it can't slide back and keep the door from opening. So it needs to fit like that. That's the bottom tray. Next, we're going to put in the top tray. Okay, the top tray is in. You'll know it's in properly when you can see these, the basket fits inside these clips along the front that hold it in. When we put it in last time, we accidentally had it outside those clips just a little bit, and that was just enough to keep the door from closing. Now it fit in there tight. You can tell when you slide this in, it goes all the way to the back, then you close this all the way, and it seals tight all the way around the edge. The next step is to put the fan housing on top of this coil. To do that, it's a little bit awkward, and I'm going to show you why. This is the housing for the unit, and you're going to see the fan unit is attached with a cable. It's wired to this box, and you can't get them apart. So you have to do it, carry them both over there and put it all in there together. Before you can put this housing over this, you have to take this plug and you plug it into this socket right here, and then you can slide it up and attach the screws. You'll see I set it in there like this. So this is the housing, and then this part you can see where there's 3 screws, and they're going to line up with those 3 screw holes in the back. And I'm just going to screw this on up here like that. Okay, I've got that mounted in there. You can see it's got the screws holding it in. Your next step is going to be to take this housing. It's just going to slide up and over that. While you're doing it, you're going to notice there's a cable in here. You're going to be pulling gently on this connector as you slip this up and over the housing there in the back. Okay, I slipped it on. I pulled this cable through right here, and you'll notice I also fed these 2 cables through the top. Now I'm going to put screws in. There's screws in these locations here and a location over here, 3 screws to hold it in place. Okay, I got this screwed into place. You're going to see there's 2 screws up there in the top. They kind of angle in from the front to the back. And then there's a screw right here on the side. And that's what holds that housing in place. An easier way to assemble the ice maker is, you'll notice I just slid this top rack out. See how there's 4 slots and they slide onto those 4 pins up there? So this, you just pull, you have to pull kind of sharply. You can pull it out of here. So this unit snaps together like this and makes a complete unit that you can then slide in. You see that fits in there. This fits in here. And those little tongs fit into that little thing there. The only thing holding it is this little clip right here. And then I can slide the whole thing back onto those 4 prongs using these slots. Okay, that's the unit clipped into place. It's on those 4 studs. Now I'm going to connect the connectors. You can see this one just plugs in like this. These guys go together like that, and now your electrical connections are made. Next, this cover goes on. You can see it has 2 prongs. They're going to fit up at the top in there, and then there's a single screw right here that holds it on that goes up into the top just in front of those connectors. You're going to see the cable and the water lines fit in that little notch, and then you can see those tangs are engaging back in there. And lift it up and put it into place. Okay, that cover is mounted into place. You can see the wires are routed properly. Before we put the ice bin back in, there's one more piece of trim that's going to fit here in the front. You can see there's a screw that's going to go into this block, and there's a screw from underneath that goes into this. So it fits in here. You put a screw in here, and then you put one from underneath there. Now, with that piece of trim in place, we are ready for the ice bucket. Okay, the ice bin is back in. There's one more piece of trim. It's this one, and it's going to go across the back to cover up these. Okay, that's installed. You can see it just rests in there, and it rests on a little groove right here, and then it catches on the 2 sides, and it's a cover for all the things that are behind it. Okay, the drawers are back in, and that one long drawer is back in. Everything's set. I'm going to check to be sure that the doors seal properly. Remember, this one, when you close it, that needs to engage. That blocks the centerpiece like that. And then you can go around and look to see if you have a good seam all the way around it. Because if you don't, you're going to have it frost up again. It looks like it seals really well all the way around. So I think we're in good shape. What we can do now is turn it back on, and you can hear it start to run, and it should be good.